Welcome to another East Tradewinds presentation with Vance from Deliver Service Now.
So this is a picture of me and my former boss. Worked for the Disney company for a little over 10 years. Has anybody been to Disney before? My stock price thanks you. It's always good to have people supporting my retirement. One of the things I did when I got out, I worked for a couple of corporations after I left Disney, and I am one of those people that was able to leave the company and not curl up in the fetal position and wither away. I did what every small boy dreams of doing, and I started a carpet cleaning business. Because, hey, why not? I've had that for 19 years now. I've added a Oriental rug washing facility and a mold remediation company to it. And about 8 years ago, I hired a general manager, put a whole bunch of systems in place, and now I spend about 90 minutes a week managing those 3 businesses. So that is the power of systems. So if you're putting systems in place, systems give you freedom. One of the fun things I get to do is take business groups down to Disney for a 4-day full immersion boot camps. We spend half the day in the classroom, half the day in the theme parks. And at the end of the time, you have a blueprint on how you're going to Disneyfy your business. These are really fun and they're really powerful. And if you implement just one idea from the event, guaranteed you will 5x your investment in the event. And before I really jump into it, a lot of people will say, but my business is different. I don't own a roller coaster. I don't have a Cinderella castle. Why the heck should I want to do anything surrounding Disney? Well, this screen I share not so much to brag, but to get a little bit of street credibility with you. I've worked with businesses all over the spectrum. Real estate, rocket ships, home inspectors, coaches, you name it. And what I'm about to talk to you about is applicable to any business. In your opinion, what is the customer experience? 100%, it is how the business makes you feel during the interaction or the use of their product. It's not the hours of operation or the widget that you sell, but clearly more than 50% is how you make them feel. So a customer experience is not just about the what. How many of you think you deliver great service? Here's the thing. When I ask audiences, it doesn't matter whether there's 10 of us or, 600, about 80% of the audience will raise their hand. What the other 20% are thinking, I don't know. Maybe they think they suck or they know that they have bad service. But here's the thing. 80% of companies say they deliver great service. Sadly, when they surveyed the customers of those companies, only 8% of the customers think that those businesses deliver great service. So there is a huge gap that needs to be overcome between these perceptions. We think we're doing a great job. Our customers don't think that. So we really have to analyze what is going on in our business. And customer service has gotten so bad, right, that 7 in 10 customers or consumers said that they were willing to spend more with a company for the same exact product or service just to get a better experience. All right. So competing on price is not the most effective way to build an enduring business. Right? Great service, great experiences delivered time and again is defensible against really the stiffest and most well-funded competition. Think Disney, think American Express. My carpet cleaning business, we're about 40% higher than our closest competitor. And so companies with great service are not afraid to charge a premium for it. And you can differentiate yourself from the competition by wowing people, okay? Nordstrom's, Whole Foods, Ritz-Carlton, Zappos before they were bought up by Amazon. These are all examples of companies, enormous companies, that focused on the premium customer experience, and we'll all agree they charge premium prices. So how do we get there, right? People always say, show me the money, right? So there is a percentage of the population willing to spend more for the same product or service. I mentioned that already. And way at the tippy top of this pyramid, 10% of the population is willing to spend 31% or more for the same product or service just to get a better experience. So your marketing should be directed at that top 10%. Why wouldn't you? Why would you want to go for the people that aren't willing to spend more? And if you look at these numbers, really, I mean, more than half of the population is willing to spend more just to get a better experience. So I don't know if you guys have read the book, The Experience Economy. Absolutely brilliant. It's a little bit old, but everything in it is still certainly applicable. And they have what they call the ladder of progression of economic value. And as you can see, on the one side, you have your competitive position, and on the bottom, you have pricing. And as a commodity, and I hate to break it to you guys, we're all commodities, every one of us, right? I mean, a dentist is a dentist is a dentist. There's only so many ways to clean teeth. What separates one dentist from another is really the experience. But commodities cannot be differentiated. And as a commodity, you do not control your prices. The marketplace dictates the price. Think of iron ore or sugar or pork bellies or whatever the commodities are out there. The market dictates the price. Now, if you go up to the next level are goods. Goods are made from the commodity, so there is some leeway in pricing. Services are really the intangible activities. Service providers use the goods that are comprised of the commodities to deliver a specific task. So as we're going up this staircase, your competitive positioning is getting stronger and your pricing is getting higher. And at the top are experiences, right? And experiences are how you make people feel. And bottom line, experiences are memorable, and no two people can have the same experience. So let me give you a quick example of this, and let's bake a cake. Okay, so for those of us of a certain age, we remember our mothers making our cake from scratch. She actually touched the commodities: flour, cocoa, sugar, eggs, etc. How much did these things cost? Maybe $1 or $2 to make a cake. I mean, it's only a cup of flour, a cup of sugar, right? So let's just say $2, right? Then came along cake in a box, right? This is our good. The commodities became less relevant because they all got pre-packaged, right? And so you now have the cake in a box and the tub of fake frosting, right? The higher cost is a trade-off for the convenience and the time. And probably if you were to buy these things, you're probably looking $5 each, so maybe $10. Same basic commodities, just packaged differently. And now we're getting 5x the price because of the packaging and how we put it together. Then, of course, you can always go to a bakery or your grocery store and you can get a half sheet cake for, $50, right? That's, at least 5 to 6 times the store-bought or the box, and it's at least 10x the base commodities, right? So people think this is a great bargain, right? Time and energy saved. What do families do now? They completely outsource, right? They go to places like Dave & Buster's. I don't know if you guys have ever been at a Chuck E. Cheese's. I don't recommend it. It's god-awful food. Or American Girl. How many of you have daughters and have purchased an American Girl? Any of you? None of you. Well, you're in Canada, so you probably buy a Canada Girl, right? Well, anyway, American Girl are dolls, all right? And they're these plastic things. They're like $10 at Walmart. But at American Girl, they cost $50. And then you got to get outfits for the girls, and they're like $15, $20 each. And then, you can't just have one outfit because, you got to get dirty and do laundry. You got to have a couple outfits. American Girl has the longest amount of time a consumer will spend in one store. And it's just a tick over 2 hours. Can you imagine 2 hours shopping for dolls, right? What the hell do they do in 2 hours? Well, one, they get the doll. Then they got to pick out the outfits. Then they get their picture taken with the doll at the American Girl photo studio, which is another $50. But wait, they can't get their picture taken yet because they got to get their hair done. So both the kid and the doll go to the American Girl salon and both get matching hairdos, right? Which is another $50. So now that $10 commodity doll is worth over $200 just by creating experiences around the doll. So obviously, satisfied customers defect all the time, okay? If you have satisfied clients, they're going to leave you. Somebody's going to offer a nickel less than you are, and poof, they're gone. And then certainly, nobody raves about average. When was the last time you went home, sat down at the dinner table with the family, and said, "Oh my God, you'll never guess what happened at the oil change today," right? That conversation is not happening because oil changes are commodities. They're boring. They are not memorable. And, and hope to God they don't screw up the car, but there's just nothing exciting about an oil change unless you go to my client, Jackson. He's got 4 service stations. All they do is oil changes. But what we did is we wanted to separate him from everybody else, right? So we could not have him be seen as a commodity. Talk about a commodity, oil, right? And oil changes. And to be clear, he does not have any magic or special oil, right? He just has Pennzoil or whatever the stuff is. And so we went and worked with him, and we turned all of his service stations into 1950s style service stations, where 4 guys would run out and they got little bow ties on and gloves, and one guy squeegees your windshield, another one checks the air pressure in your tires, right? And then somebody escorts you into the waiting room where there's actually today's newspaper, horrors, and there's also a barista in there waiting to make your favorite coffee drink. And the barista is actually one of the oil change technicians. They just rotate through the job. Now, here's what all of this Mickey Mouse work generates. All right. He is 35% higher in price than his competitor, Jiffy Lube, 2 doors down. Remember, it's the same stinking oil. It's the same service, but he is commanding a premium price for the experience that he delivers. And the bottom line to all that, 1, obviously he's more profitable, but 2, his employees stick around because they're not getting beat up and busted up, on having to service, 300 cars in a day. Now they can serve 100 cars in a day without all of the pressure. And so there's less wear and tear on the building, less wear and tear on the people. It's just a win-win all the way around. So how do we get there? I always like to leave people with the directions on how to do this, not just give you all the fluff. So what you have to do, first step, is map out your customer journey, okay? This is not negotiable. There's no way you're going to be able to do what I just said without mapping it out. And you start from the customer's point of view, right? Not your point of view. So what's block number 1? What's the first interaction a customer has with your business? And you put that in block 1. And then what does the client do? What's next? And you map out the entire thing, every spot where you interact with a client. Maybe it's sending an email. Maybe it's sending a package. Maybe it's going over a quote. Maybe it's a coaching call. Whatever it is, you map this thing out. And then once you've got it mapped out, you can look and you figure out how we're going to make it better. All right. Walt Disney called it plussing, right? Constant process improvement. So you'll go back and you'll prioritize because maybe number 1 is not the most important. Maybe, step 6 is. So you come over here, you put the block number 6, and then you're going to write down, what do you currently do? Okay. What's your current mediocre service? And then you're going to brainstorm. And if you have a team, I highly encourage you to get your team members included in this. And how do we make it better? How do we plus our show? And then you go and you implement it. And you do this for each point. And you're going to see, 1, you're going to be able to start creating or commanding premium prices based on the experience that you are delivering. I do have a free gift for everybody if you would like. If you are lacking or not feeling up to coming up with different ways to wow your customers, I did all the work for you, and I'll give you 52 ways to wow your clients without breaking the bank. So 52 low, no-cost ways. 1 wow for every week of the year.
We thank you for watching. We meet every Tuesday between 8 and 9 a.m. Eastern. There is no cost and an option to become a speaker too. Find us at easttradewinds.com or on LinkedIn.